Sikka, President, Farm Equipment at M&M, joining us this morning. Thanks so much for joining us, Mr. Sikka. Great to have you with us. Let's talk about the impact of the second lockdown so far. Do you feel as a company you were better prepared this time around for what really came into play?
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me. So clearly the second lockdown is on a different plane compared to the first lockdown. Even though in the first lockdown we had very severe nationwide lockdown, this time it is more localized. So in a sense, the second lockdown is quite different from the first one. But before we talk about the lockdown impact on the rural business, let me just tell you a good point, first of all, a positive story, and that is that all the agri-related parameters still continue to be very positive. The Rabi harvest is going on very well. The procurement is on. In the month of April, because of sudden lockdowns, it was a little slow, but in the month of May, we have seen a very good pickup in the procurement. And the most important of all, Aisha, is the whole monsoon coming up very well. The monsoon is forecasted to be a normal monsoon, third time in a row by both IMD and SkyMed. And you know that for the rural economy, monsoon plays a significant part. So as far as all the agri-related parameters are concerned, they continue to be very strong and very positive.
Okay, so if we do talk about demand then, especially tractor sales, how's that looking?
So tractor sales in the month of April, you have seen the numbers, they are already out. Overall, these numbers were lower than the month of March, and that's because till about middle of April, the industry had very good numbers. The Gudi Padwa and the Baisakhi numbers were very strong. It was very strong up to Ram Navami, and after that, in the last 10 days, they have slowed down. And that is because of purely the localized lockdown. We must remember that this time in the second wave, it is penetrating the rural areas. So in a sense, the people in the villages are also now getting impacted. So we have seen that in terms of the footfall to our dealerships and the opening of our dealerships is impacted in certain states.
Right. Hemant, the intriguing thing about, consumption is that it's all linked to per capita income. And when we talk about Indian companies as opposed to some in EU or for that matter, US consumption companies, and I'm just taking consumption as a large pool here, the US companies obviously are doing way better because of the per capita income being many-fold than that of India. Help us understand what, role do you think the industry can play, and what role do you think the government can play here in terms of an aid to the industry, given that in this second wave, we are seeing rural India as well getting impacted, much unlike what happened in the first wave, same time last year, when actually rural India aided the recovery because of the, labor migration and rural India being untouched by the virus.
Since you asked and gave a comparison with the US market, let me share how Mahindra USA is doing. Last year, that means the year ending 31st March, Mahindra USA had its best retail year ever. I mean, we clocked more than 22,000 tractor sale in the local market in US. So that company for us is doing very well. And we continue, as you rightly said, we continue to see very strong demand in the US market. In fact, if you remember last time, the domestic market was so strong that I had come to your channel and said that we are prioritizing domestic over exports. But post-Diwali, we have started prioritizing exports from here. And we are seeing that now that most of the supply chain challenges for our export market, and especially in Mahindra USA, are taken care of, they are looking at a very good growth even in this new year. Coming to what can be done in India, clearly, last year also, I think the government of India and all the state governments played very positive role to support the rural economy. If you remember last year, as the rural migration was becoming a big issue, the spend for Manrega was increased. It was 76,000 odd crore, which was taken to more than 110,000 crore of Manrega spend. So those kind of interventions do help at the local market. Also, I think the crop is bumper. The Rabi crop is a bumper crop. If the procurement happens well, we are able to maintain all the COVID protocols. Last time the government has started a system of e-token. So the farmers could actually register online, get a token, and then during his time slot, go to the mandi and sell his produce. If we are able to establish those kind of protocols again very quickly, I think it will help. The other thing different from the last wave is that this time we are not seeing the kind of rural migration that we saw last time. Last time it was like a panic-driven migration. Everybody you saw on the roads, people trying to go back. This time it is not so severe. There are two factors. One is that the folks also are, learned from the last wave that as soon as they reached home, couple of months, they were again back. So they are kind of staying back. Our companies are better prepared to hold the workers, whether it is the suppliers or the OEMs. And secondly, I think, again, a credit to the government that they have not stopped the trains. And that is what is not leading to any fear or panic with the laborers. They know that even if this week they are here and they want to go next week, there is a train available to take them back to their village. So I think overall the labor migration is much better managed. It is very less. And the government needs to continue to do the procurement very well. The monsoon is supportive. So I think if the COVID wave plateaus in the next maybe like 2 to 3 weeks, I think the demand will come back very strongly in the month of June. The May is impacted because it is very widespread right now at this stage. And people are just, rural folks had been spared in the first wave. So now they are kind of like getting used to the COVID protocols and making sure that they have enough cash with them so that if any family member faces an eventuality, they are able to support the medical treatment. So right now, I think in the month of May, it is the sentiment is clearly impacted. But since the agri factors remain very strong, and if we are able to see a plateau of the wave in about 2 to 3 weeks, I think the June month, the demand will come back again.
That. Tell me about what's happening with inventory positions ahead of the monsoon season, given that it's slated to be a strong one. And how is it that you're ironing any supply-related issues, if at all?
So supply is disrupted for all the industry. And that's because, not so much because of, as I said, labor availability. Labor availability is much stronger compared to the last wave. It is because of one and only factor, which is the availability of oxygen. And I think that's a very critical factor. We have decided that all the stocks of oxygen that we had internally or any of our supplier had, we have actually written to them that they should hand over all their stocks to the local management, a local administration, so that it is put to best use. And that is currently to make sure that the health of the people, the health of the community is protected. So right now we have absolutely no stock in our supply chain of oxygen. In engineering industry, oxygen is a very key input. So right now, because of non-availability of oxygen, rightly so, the supplies are greatly impacted. But what we are seeing is maybe, and I hope I am right, that there are early signs of stabilization of oxygen supplies. And if we continue to do like that, I think it's a war scale effort, which is currently going on by the government and by the private sector to make sure that the oxygen reaches the right places in the right quantity, in the right transportation. I think in next 10 days, maybe the oxygen situation is kind of like done and dusted with and we are smooth. And at that point in time, of course, the industry can approach the local administration and then start asking for at least little bit of supply so that we can then resume our industrial activities. Right now, because of lack of oxygen, the supply chains are disrupted.
Okay, what about labor shortage, financing, some of these issues as well? Rural financing, how is that shaping up for the industry, for the tractor industry in particular?
Rural financing is very positive. I don't see any issue in that. So, even the farmers, because of the procurement which is currently on, they will have a very good cash flow. The only thing is, it's very natural for anybody. If somebody has a COVID serious case in his household or even is his neighbor, he will try to keep some cash for those kind of eventualities. So in that sense, the cash flow attribution to buying a new purchase, people will be more conservative. But in terms of having the economic activity in terms of cash flow, that means buying, selling, procurement, all that thing is very, very strong. We don't see any issue in rural finance to that extent, except the personal own choice. That will certainly get impacted with this. You had asked about the issues on inventory. Again, I think compared to last year, we are much better on inventory this year. We were anticipating a second wave to come. And that is why in the last few months, we have been running more than at our peak capacity. So as a result, we are looking at a very good inventory position for us.
Okay. So things are sounding like they're coming together, Hemant. Any major concerns you have going forward? What's the outlook like now looking ahead?
My only concern, as I said, is this COVID wave. All agri-related parameters, everything remains to be positive. And we were doing pretty well till about 10 days back, till Ram Navami. But it has got down because of COVID spread. And I'm keeping my fingers crossed, hoping and praying that the second wave plateaus quickly. And in next 2-3 weeks, if we are little bit able to bend the curve, I think the demand should be very strong. So, this is through your channel telling everybody, please practice all the social protocols for related to COVID. We have to be very disciplined in following all the localized lockdowns. And if we are able to do that and the oxygen situation stabilizes, I think we are back in business.
Right. Hemant also wanted to understand that at a time when things are so uncertain, but at the same time you are extremely hopeful that rural recovery is going to aid numbers for you. What happens to the new launch pipeline? What happens to your capex plans? Do they take a backseat, or are you all guns blazing and you've got a launch pipeline ready?
All our capex plan are absolutely on track. We have not taken any cutback on any of our capex plan for our tractor business and the farm implement business. In fact, we are building a brand new plant in Pithampur to support our growth in the farm machinery business. We are looking for land in Punjab and a couple of other states to maybe look at starting a new plant under the Swaraj brand of tractors. So in terms of our capex on new capacity addition, it is absolutely on track and there is no looking back. In terms of our new product launches, the pipeline is very robust. You know that we have launched at the beginning of the first wave, which was a very, very challenging period. We had launched our new Plus series. The response from the customers is very good. All the new launches further to this will be absolutely on time and on track.
Sure. The other niggling worry, and I'm guessing that would be true for you as well, is the kind of rising input cost pressures. How is it that you at M&M are dealing with the same?
I have not seen the kind of unprecedented commodity inflation that I am seeing now so far in my career. So this is a very, very strong commodity inflation. And clearly being a very responsible OEM ourselves and the industry as a whole, tractor industry as a whole, we have decided that in Mahindra, we will take up a very calibrated approach to price increases. We have taken a price increase on 1st of January. Our second price increase is already in play on 1st of April, and we will take some price increases in next couple of months. So we will take calibrated approaches to these price increases. But they are very, very severe, and we are not seeing the peak of the commodity cycle as yet. So we are expecting certain more price increases to happen. But that's the way we will play it out. We want to make sure that our customers are not unduly impacted, and the market is able to absorb these kind of price increases. So 2 are already in the kitty, 1 is just around the corner, and we will see how then it unfolds overall.
Yeah, indeed, an evolving situation. Hemant, great to have you on the show and great to get in all that insight about what's going on with the industry. Good chatting with you.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.